Well, at least we can say this is the last hot day of this current streak. And now we look ahead to heavy rain and thunderstorms, and that's all ahead of what will be a beautiful weekend, as Joe Rayo has put it, the best weekend of the summer season. So let's get right to it tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. You can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast if you wish to do so. If you do Amazon shopping, use our referral link. It's on the descriptor to this podcast on YouTube, right underneath the title and the descriptor of what we're doing tonight. And all you got to do is shop. Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. It doesn't cost you 1 penny out of your pockets. A simple, easy way, and it keeps the live Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, at least the live part of it, commercial free. And I know that makes a lot of people happy, and I'm all for making other people happy. And Tempest by Weatherflow, get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this tonight is pinned to the top of the chat board, as well as on the descriptor to this podcast. Use that coupon code, Joe Rayo. Do you know what that coupon code is?
Summer 2025.
Because if you don't use it, you won't get.
Oh, you won't get. If you don't use that code, you certainly will not reap. You will not reap the benefits of that code by getting 10 big % off whatever you're purchasing at Tempest.
I have thunderstorms going on either side of me. So it's very dark outside here in North Georgia. It is 79 degrees.
So you're surrounded.
I'm surrounded. I got about
thunderstorms. You got thunderstorms to the left and thunderstorms to the right.
To the right.
Yes.
Oh my. And I got 0.35 inches of rain last night, so I didn't have to water today, so I was very happy about that. But speaking of water, we have a good solid soaking rain coming, enough that they have flood watches now up for, well, I might as well show everybody because I got the map up here somewhere. Just a second. Okay, here we go. So the flood watches
It's interesting, by the way, that on the Upton or the New York City National Weather Service site, if you go to their site and you look at their map, which is always multicolored, the colors are in line with whatever advisory is in effect, they still have mostly, reds and oranges indicating heat advisories or extreme heat warnings or whatever. But underneath all of that are the watches for potential flooding, which go into effect tomorrow. And I'm sure.
And I have the map on the screen, by the way, that has stripped those heat advisories off and has the flood watches on them.
Well, I'm sure that if you go on the Upton site, that you will see the flood watches shown after 8 o'clock, because the heat advisories all are in effect until 8 p.m. Once they are down, then they'll simply go to the next bit of confusion and cataclysm, which will be the threat of flooding tomorrow into Friday.
And that flood watch, by the way, goes all the way down into northeastern Virginia, covers much of central and eastern Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, the eastern half of Pennsylvania, the Hudson Valley up to the Catskills, and the great state of Connecticut.
Yes. Well,
at least that's what they've put up so far.
Yeah.
So that certainly could change. Hang on a second. Trying to get us back here for some reason. It don't want to do that. Oh, here we go.
Now, locally where I am in Putnam Valley, there was a band or a line or a train, if you will, of strong to possibly severe thunderstorms, but it was moving from west to east, and the lower end of that line was just literally north of where I am. So, I mean, if you traveled, let's say 5 or 10 miles north of where I am, you probably would have gotten some pretty good rain. But we didn't see a drop here. It all passed to our north. And now for the balance of the night, Joe, I think what we're going to see, the cold front working its way still down toward us, practically on top of us now, I think we'll have a chance at a hit or miss shower or maybe a gusty thunderstorm, but more often than not, nothing is going to happen. The real fireworks look to be tomorrow. It looks like we'll begin to see some showers here in the early part of the day on Thursday, and then things will start to really rev up after 2 or 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and then from then into at least the first part of tomorrow night, there are going to be showers. There's going to be a bit of rumble of thunder, and there is the potential from tomorrow afternoon into the first part of tomorrow night of flooding concerns. I'm thinking, Joe, for the lower Hudson Valley. Again, I'm not, taking into account, let's say, eastern Long Island or central New Jersey, because I always concentrate on a daily basis on the lower Hudson Valley, most notably Orange, Rockland, Westchester, Putnam. I think we're looking at 1.5 to 2 inches when this is all over, said and done, but with some possible localized spots receiving upwards to 4 inches of rain. And as you go south of New York City, the threat only increases. And in fact, I see that they have put a moderate threat of flooding in from New York and points south and west of New York City. And they're talking, Joe, about some models coming up with crazy rain amounts of something on the order of like 8 inches or more. And that, when you consider the time of the year, how hot it's been, how humid, and how high the dew points have been, and the fact that we have this weather front with a wave of low pressure expected to develop on it tomorrow south of New York, and we have seen this last year. You could ask Dennis Cassia. He had 9 or 10 inches of rain one Sunday afternoon on August the 19th. You can ask yours truly. I had about 9 or 10 inches of rain where I was 2 years ago when we had one of these kind of breakouts. So it is not out of the question that somebody will be getting a tremendous amount of rain in a very short interval of time, and there are going to be some, probably by this time tomorrow night, some pretty amazing pictures and videos of people trying to work their way or make their way through some very high water.
Yeah, I mean, the setup is there, and it's gonna the wind coming in off the ocean tomorrow is gonna also help the cause. And with the dew points, as you mentioned, very high, the dew points in the 70s, until we can get the weather system to move far enough east to start bringing down some of the drier air. And that's not going to happen until maybe later in the day on Friday. Uh, the main area of rain looks like it pulls out. Then you get like a little secondary wave that might hold clouds in during the afternoon Friday. But look, the bottom line is that we are headed to a very nice weekend.
It's going to be a very nice weekend, and it looks like it's going to be nice right on through the first part of next week. The humidity will slowly come back, but underscore that word slowly. We may not see uncomfortable humidity levels or dew point levels again until maybe Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So we've got a nice stretch of weather, but in order to get that nice stretch, we're going to dearly make payment with the threat or the potential of some heavy duty rains tomorrow and into tomorrow night.
Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board, and those of you watching in the background, welcome to you too on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We are here usually Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. And Fridays and Saturdays are off days for us, unless there's something going on. And if there is, we will always let you know about it if we're going to add an extra show or two. But don't anticipate that happening this time around. So subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, hit the like button. Another very hot day. I was looking at some of the highs. There are a few less 100-degree highs today, but Newark got to 100. Teterboro got to 100. LaGuardia got to 99. Looks like it was, let's see, is that White Plains with the 93? Yes, White Plains only getting to 93. Probably a bit of a sea breeze off the sound helped to keep the temperatures down. Philadelphia downtown got to 100. The airport got to 97, but it was mostly middle and upper 90s. And even up as you go up into New England, it was a very warm day indeed, with a lot of highs in the middle 90s, a few 96s. I don't see anything higher than, a couple of 97s at New Haven. and in Trumbull, Connecticut, got to 97 as well. Poughkeepsie today got to Fairview, which is not far from Poughkeepsie, got to 98. The Nears Meteorological Site in the Hudson River near Statsburg got to 89. Go figure. A wind off the Hudson River, I suppose. I don't know. So this is the last of the hot weather days, which is, I think, good news for those of you who want some relief. And as Joe mentioned, you still have those heat advisories, or today's heat advisories, which will come off in about 14 minutes. And you'll see the green for the flood watches that are up underneath, which I showed you earlier. They have come off in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. So there you get the green, and that's all flood watches, the flood watches that have been put up. Still have a lot of heat advisories up across the Deep South, as well as the lower Mississippi and Ohio Valley, and some areas of extreme heat warnings. Air quality issues continue in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and in Michigan. Flash flood watches that have been up across from Iowa into Indiana, with Illinois in between, have whittled down to a handful of counties in northeastern Illinois. We've got some flood watches in parts of New Mexico and northwest Texas, as well as in Colorado, in the southern quarter of the state, the southeast quarter of the state, and some flood watches in southeast Montana and southwest Montana, and a few heat advisories that are up in the Pacific Northwest. Going to refresh this loop here because that's from this morning, so we can see what's going on right now. Not a whole heck of a.
The 93, that by the way, that was at White Plains, was 1 degree shy of the record for the date. The record for today at White Plains Westchester Airport, 94, and the very hot, I remember this summer, very hot and humid summer of 1988. So they fell one short of at least tying the record today. However, they had 96 degrees yesterday, and they also had 96 back on Friday of last week, and it was 93. And, when you consider that it's not very typical that White Plains actually sees temperatures in the 90s, because, as you mentioned, Joe, they usually get a cooling wind off of Long Island Sound. They're not really White Plains. The airport is actually Harrison in lower Westchester County, and they tend to get that wind off of the Sound, which tends to be cooler. But there's another hot one, no matter which way you slice it. By the way, here in Putnam Valley, our high temperature for today, 97, and that's 2 degrees lower than it was yesterday when we got to 99. So hot every which way you look. Tomorrow, it looks like the high temperatures tomorrow are probably going to be registered in the morning, and probably they're not going to get much higher than the low to mid 70s. And I think, Joe, as you mentioned, with that onshore east or northeasterly flow, that tomorrow afternoon, temperatures ever so slowly will start trending downward. So let's say we hit a high at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning of 74. By 2 or 3 o'clock, it may actually be close to the 71 or 70 as that cooler air takes over. And also, of course, by that time, we should be in the midst of some rather heavy rainfall here in the lower Hudson Valley area, as well as most everywhere else. So we've got quite a day on tap for tomorrow, and finally the air conditioners and the fans are going to get a bit of a rest, I think, tomorrow and on into the upcoming weekend.
By the way, looking at the lightning strikes on the satellite loop, I can see that stick of storms that you were talking about that formed just to your north and then just kind of slid eastward into Connecticut. And there's also a stray cell that's moved its way into Long Island Sound and kind of touching the north shore of northern Nassau County at the moment. Meanwhile, we've got some scattered storms up and down the Appalachians into North Georgia. And in the last frame or two, you can see what I was talking about here. That little cluster that comes over the border from North Carolina is right around me. I mean, I'm still a good hour away from sunset, and it's pitch black outside, but so far not a drop of rain. There are some storms going on in Louisiana. There's bands that are moving from north to south. There's actually 3 distinct bands that are, one's in the southern part of the state, another one is right behind it, and then there's a third line that's moving southward in the northern part of the state. And you also see some scattered cells up in parts of Arkansas and Missouri. In the Rockies, you're seeing some scattered showers and thunderstorms from New Mexico all the way up into Wyoming and southern Montana and even into Idaho. And it looks like even a couple of storms have fired up in Oregon and Northern California, believe it or not. On the radar, give it a quick refresh. You can see what's left of that cell I just mentioned over Long Island. It's still a couple of small, stronger cells inside an area of maybe not so strong stuff. The line that Joe mentioned is gone. You see what's going on here in the south. Actually, got 3 working flash flood warnings, 2 in northeastern Tennessee, and one of them that crosses over into North Carolina and southwestern Virginia. In in Louisiana, the main area is right along I-10, almost over along the entire route across Louisiana, and then you see the third line with some cells developing up to the north, the lead line down near the coast that is moving south. To the northwest, we've got some rain and a few thunderstorms moving from northern Illinois and Wisconsin northeastward into Michigan. You can see some patchy areas of heavier rain. A little flash flood warning there has popped up out just outside of Detroit. The precip in the west is actually kind of busy for this time of year with these storms up and down the Rockies and also up into Northern California, Nevada, and even into parts of Oregon and into Washington. Storm Prediction Center has a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms. I guess that carries overnight into tomorrow morning, but not much, I think, is going to, as you said, not much is going to probably happen during the overnight period. There are no severe thunderstorm watches up at the moment, although you do see risk areas for isolated severe thunderstorms from southeast Kansas eastward across Missouri into southern Illinois, Indiana, southern Michigan, and northwest Ohio, and then another area from Colorado into Wyoming and southern Montana. Now, tomorrow, there's a marginal risk for isolated severe thunderstorms from central and south Jersey and southern Pennsylvania southward into Maryland, Delaware, and northeast Virginia. And this is where WPC is indicating that there could be some of the heavier rainfall and also a small area of marginal risk from Wyoming into Colorado. And then we move on to day 3, which is Friday into Saturday. There we go. So it's just general thunderstorms and south of central New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, southward down to Florida and west back to New Mexico, and then up into the plains and Rockies and into the northwest, some general thunderstorm activity. And here's a WPC with the moderate risk for flash flooding. That's at least a 40%, but less than 70% probability of flash flooding. And I was in the discussion, Joe. They talk about there's an experimental model that they use that is giving a 30 to 60% chance for 5 inches or more in that moderate risk zone. And that moderate risk zone goes all the way up to the New Jersey, New York state line and all the way south to the Maryland and Virginia state line.
That's a pretty, all things considered, for a moderate risk area, that's a fairly large area that encompasses quite a few people. The population centers, including Trenton, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Washington, Baltimore, Atlantic City. A lot of people live in that zone, and a lot of people may very well be subjected to some very heavy rain. I thought I saw some mention in that discussion, and maybe I read through it too quickly, but I thought I saw something that spoke about the possibility of even 8 inches in.
Let's see. Let's go down here. All right, so this must be an updated discussion. I think maybe I read the one that was from earlier. Potential for modest vertical wind shear aloft will also support organized clusters of storms, some of which will have the potential to back build and train over the I-95 corridor into Thursday night. The latest HREF guidance shows 24-hour probabilities for greater than 3 inches or over 70 or high over 70% from the DC Baltimore area on north through northeast Maryland, southeast PA, and into southern New Jersey. Just as concerning is in this same region is this same region sports a 30 to 60% chance for greater than 5 inches. Let me see if I see an 8 in here. I don't see the 8
I've,
number.
I've got,
But
I've
look,
got,
5 inches, 8, once you get
oh,
over
here it
3 or 4.
Here it is, way down near the bottom. It says many individual convective models show localized totals surpassing 5 inches,
Oh,
with
I see
even
it.
some localized maxima approaching 8 inches. Residents in the Mid-Atlantic should ensure that they have a reliable means of receiving warnings issued by their local Weather Service forecast offices throughout the day tomorrow and into late Thursday night.
Well, and
So,
we echo those sentiments. Now,
absolutely.
David on the chat board, David Scott, I think it was, wanted to see the digital forecast rainfall amounts. So, me being the type of person that I am going to oblige. Just give me a moment to pull those up. Total precip, here we go. And I will move it to, um, I'll move it to Saturday, so this way we get all of the numbers. And I will also zoom in a little bit so you can see it a bit better on the screen. Now, here's the thing, and Joe and I say this all the time and have said it multiple times in the last a couple of months. In the summertime, when you look at these forecasts for rainfall amounts, you have to put it in the back of your mind that local areas that might not be represented in the specific points that you're seeing here, or even those points that you are seeing here, depending on how the heavy rain sets up and how the thunderstorm, any embedded thunderstorms set up, that you could easily wind up with double these amounts, and maybe even a little bit more. In general, in the orange and reddish areas, you're talking anywhere from 1.75 inches to 2 and 3/4 inches. And where you see the shadings of red that may not be represented by any points inside those zones, that's basically 3 inches or more. That's why you have the 3.47 at Trenton, 1.79 for Philadelphia. But who's to say that that red area is going to be over Trenton? It might be over Trenton. It may be over Philadelphia. It might be over both of them. Okay, we could
Right.
see. You could see these areas shift a little east or a little bit to the west, depending on how things all play out. So, the think along the lines of along the lines of a 2 to maybe 3 inch rainfall, and just remember that it could easily wind up being double that.
That 3.47 that's located near Trenton could very easily, using this double analogy, could very easily be close to 7 inches of rain.
Right,
Just
and
want
that's
to just point
and
that
that's
out.
consistent, with what WPC is talking about.
Right. But you know that some politician, after the damage has been done, will point to the National Weather Service and say,
We
"Well, I didn't know
weren't
it was going to get
warned.
that much." Yeah,
We weren't
exactly.
told. Well,
Yeah.
if those gas bags would watch the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35, they cannot deny the fact that they didn't know about it. That they can't say that they didn't know about it, because we're telling you right here, and we told you yesterday, and we told you the day before. So there. Um, anyway,
I'm wondering, Governor Murphy, who has been, issuing all kinds of warnings and emergency advisories or whatever. And every time there's a slight chance of something happening, going all the way back to that surprise snowstorm in November of 2018, I'm wondering whether or not he is aware of what may happen
well, he's
in
not
his
running.
state.
He's no longer. He's stopped running for a third term.
Oh, I see. I see. So you only need to be concerned to get more votes.
Correct.
Otherwise, if it happens, I don't have to worry. I'm not running. Hmm.
Exactly. Here's the wide map of WPC's rainfall forecasts, and the digital forecast just pretty much reflects what this is showing. Also seeing 7-day rainfalls that are sizable in the southeast, from North Carolina down to North Florida and west into Alabama, several inches or more, and maybe 4 or 5 inches or more along the North Carolina and South Carolina coastlines. A strip of rain. I think much of this is front end loaded, by the way, because once we get into the weekend, most of these areas that I'm talking about right now, except for maybe the southeast, will be dry. But areas in Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, where you see this area of 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half plus, and that's on top of rain that's already fallen. That's early in the forecast period. We've got 1/2 to 3/4 inch rain amounts right up and down all of the plain states, the far northern Rockies, and then it kind of tails off a bit in the Pacific Northwest, and it disappears completely in the Southwest. So I'm going to run the 12Z European, and this does not show radar presentation, but it shows max areas of precip. And you can see from overnight, there really isn't too much, but you start to see some stuff forming. This is at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. The frontal boundary is literally lying from, say, Boston and New York City into that low that's showing up in Northern Virginia, and then extends back southwest from there. So you're getting a lead area of rain and some downpours that start to pop up tomorrow morning in northern New Jersey and up into Connecticut and Massachusetts and back across southern New York and into Ohio. And then as we go through the day, this is at 11 a.m. Now at 2 p.m., you can see that the areas of rain have expanded. Area of heavy rain in eastern Pennsylvania down into Maryland. Some cells there that show up, some max areas of precip in western Connecticut and also into Massachusetts. And the low is kind of sliding east or east northeast, and the frontal boundaries sliding east. But here's the thing for tomorrow, Joe, is that yeah, the frontal boundary gets through, but you still have like a southeast wind here. Anytime you get a setup like this where you've got low pressure to the south, you get a southeast wind. That in this time of year is a recipe for trouble with respect to rainfall.
And again, we're going to stress whatever happens tomorrow in terms of rain, the worst of it likely is going to come, at least from the consensus of all the models. The worst of it looks like it's going to come from late tomorrow afternoon into the first half of tomorrow night.
Right.
So count on the afternoon commute home up until about midnight tomorrow night. That will be when the rains will be coming down at their fiercest. And so if you plan to be out at any time during that time frame, be aware, be advised that you could run into some torrential, heavy downpours. I noticed, Joe, that the GFS has been concentrating most of the heavy-duty rains in areas to the south and to the west of New York City, which is why I guess perhaps SPC has placed the main area of moderate threat of flooding in that zone. However, the 12Z European model seems to be placing a significant push of very heavy rain across parts of the Hudson Valley and points north of New York.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Right. I got the.
so,
This is the total rainfall map through Friday evening. Yeah, it's mostly north on the European.
so who are you going to believe at this point in time? You might want to say, well, the European has more ensemble members and they're more accurate. The GFS has had stuff taken away from it, from balloon launch. But the bottom line of it is, if you're anywhere within, let's say, a 75-mile radius of Midtown Manhattan tomorrow afternoon into the first half of tomorrow night, anywhere in that 70-mile radius, you stand the risk of getting into some very, very heavy rain and the potential for significant flooding issues.
Just looking at the 3 kilometer NAM, which you think might be the one you might do better in a case like this, and you can see the heavy rain areas are, yeah, in the Hudson Valley across central and northern Connecticut and southern Massachusetts, and there's a slight gap in northern New Jersey and over Long Island. But then you get into big rains for south of Route 78 or even south of Route 80 down through much of New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, down into Maryland, Delaware, and just touching northeastern Virginia. So that shading color would be anywhere from 2.5 inches to maybe as much as 3.5 or 4. So it's this I think looks probably the closest to what WPC has. So that's something to bear in mind here, that there is model support for how WPC is doing it versus how the European is doing it. But no matter, again, it's sort of a dice roll with these things. I've seen over the years in some of these heavy rain events, you think it's going to be in one spot and it winds up being somewhere further east or further north. So you're just going to have to bear that in mind. But there is going to be a clobbering of rain here, no matter which way you look at it. And it also appears that the European now is a little bit faster in getting things out of the way, so that maybe by Friday afternoon you start to get some decreasing clouds and maybe a little bit of sun appears. But then, of course, as everything continues to sink southward, you got this nice big high in northern Illinois. To see a 1029 high on August 2nd is pretty impressive. And that is a large dome of dry air covering from the Midwest all the way through the East. And some of that dry air is going to make it down to me by the time we get to Sunday. So I'm happy about that. In fact, this particular run of the European pushes that frontal boundary all the way down into southern Georgia, down to the Gulf, almost to the Gulf Coast, which would be, get me into some of those lower dew points, and we'll check those out. The rain has started here, Joe. I can hear it. Uh,
What's also interesting is that I looked at the plumes numbers, and from New York City and points north up to Poughkeepsie, they seem overly low, on the order of only about, well, actually, 1/100th of an inch less than 1 inch, and 0.99 at LaGuardia, to only about 1.15 in Poughkeepsie. That's for the whole event. And
mhm.
I really don't think that we're going to see, I hope that that might be the case. I don't want to see an extensive or an excessive amount of rainfall, but that seems a little bit underdone as compared to some of the global models as to how much precipitation is going to fall with this impending round of rain.
And the dew points over the weekend are going to be spectacular in the low 50s in parts of Pennsylvania. And even the Europeans got a 48 dew point near New York City by Saturday afternoon. And that continues into Sunday. I mean, it's a little higher on Sunday. It's in the low 50s, big deal. But I even get the 50 dew points get down into North Georgia here Saturday night and Sunday. I'm counting it down to get there. And as we just look into next week, that dry air holds on through Monday. You've got dew points still in the 50s and even some 40s on Monday in the Northeast and Mid Atlantic states, and also on Tuesday. So this is a nice long, and even on Wednesday, yeah, they come up a little bit near the coast. There's still some dry air left in the Appalachians. The dew points come up back above 60 on Wednesday, but we're not seeing them go back to 70s. And in fact, they actually drop again on Thursday and into Friday, which is kind of interesting because you got that next high that's going into eastern Canada, and I guess some of that dry air is going to bleed southward. It's going to put the surface back on, and you can take a look at that. But you can see there's another high here that comes down into southeastern Canada by the time we get to Tuesday and Wednesday. So that will at least try to uh, keep some drier air in place. And you also see that there are storms that show up. There's probably some kind of shortwave upper trough that moves through New England next Wednesday, which is why you see the European firing up some storms there in upstate New York and New England. But I think for most people next week, the whole week looks to be rain free and not hot. I mean, that's the other takeaway of this. It's just not going to be hot for a while.
The phone is ringing. Here, take it, dear.
Can't you tell your friends that you have a show to do?
I'm sorry, they just aren't. That's actually the vice
You're such a
president of the
popular
German.
person.
It's the vice president of the German club. So
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
anyway, so do you want to do Briller Jeopardy now, or you
Yes,
want to wait until tomorrow? Or
no, let's run through it, but let's do it quickly, okay?
very good. Okay, so
I was cleaning my roof today, so I'm kind of tired.
all right, so let's get through this as quickly as we can because we're both kind of tired. Um, hang on for one moment here, and of course, naturally, this has to be an ultra long Briller Jeopardy.
Well,
You've
you
got
know
like
what?
a
You could
you've
always,
got
you
a.
know what you do? Why don't you just cut it in half?
I'm going to cut it in half.
Cut it in
Briller
half.
Jeopardy, 11 states. Oh yeah, but it's what you have to name all 11 states in
Oh,
this.
we're smart. We can do that. 11 states. What's the question?
11 states who the highest temperature is at least 120 degrees.
11 states where the highest temperature is at least 120 degrees, and I'm sure there are a couple of surprises in there. Um, all right. Well, David Scott will kick it off with Nevada.
Yes, Nevada is number 3 on the list. Nevada, 125 degrees.
Tyler Finger has North Dakota.
North Dakota, a lot of people wouldn't think of North Dakota, but they indeed are on the list. They have reached, I don't know what the place was, but they have gone up to as high as 120 degrees.
Okay. I'm going to try and go to in order here. Joe Gaffney says Arizona.
Arizona has gone up as high as 128 degrees.
Jason Fox says California.
California is at the top. Of course, Death Valley is in California, and they have seen as high as 134 degrees Fahrenheit.
Carol DeCara says, why not South Dakota?
Well, if North Dakota can get to 120, why not South Dakota? Why not? South Dakota also has seen temperatures of 120 degrees.
All right. Hold on just a second here. Rich Rothmansky says Kansas.
Kansas, 121 degrees.
Okay. So how many we have left?
We have 5 left.
5 left. Jason Fox says Texas.
Texas is there too with 120.
Frank Scalera is going with his home state of Pennsylvania.
Frank, you're the first one to strike out on this question. Pennsylvania is not on the list with at least 120 degree temperatures.
Harold Olson says Florida.
Florida, believe it or not on the list.
John M. says Utah.
Utah is not on the list. See, now we're getting into the nitty gritty of.
Frank, you're reaching here with Alaska. I think we can go by that. Um, okay, let's see. Rich Rothmansky now throws in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's there with 120.
Joe Gaffney comes back with Wyoming.
Wyoming is not there.
David Scott has New Mexico.
New Mexico, yes, with 122 degrees.
Uh,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We need 2 more, Joe.
2 more. Okay. I seem to recall, I'm going to take a stab at this, as I seem to recall when we were doing something with highest temperatures in the state, that Arkansas had a big number up there.
Arkansas is on the list with 120 degrees.
Okay, so I was right. My memory was correct, and Rich Rothmansky on the same page. John M. suggests the great state of Montana.
Montana not on the list.
Not on the list. There's one left. Joe Z and Harold Olson are suggesting South Carolina.
Nope, not South Carolina.
No. And I think Florida is it's all the highest temperature somewhere. It is over 110 in the northern part of the state, but I don't think it was 120.
We already said Florida. No, they're not on the list.
John M. returns with Colorado.
Colorado, no, not on the list.
Okay. What
It's a
about
state that,
Idaho for Miss Fowlerite?
you're getting close. You're getting
Okay.
close. Idaho is not on the list, but you
And
are getting close.
Frank Scalera says, what about Oregon?
Oregon, no. But
No.
again, now you're surrounding.
Okay. Did we say we did say Nevada already, but the only other state if we're surrounding, I'm going to say is Washington State,
There you go.
which
Washington, 1 point.
Christinapedia has come up with too, and so have a few others. So we got them
Yep.
all.
You got them all, Joe.
Okay. Well, that's good. See, the chat board, folks, the people who watch the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast are a smart group of people, I must say. And on that note, we're going to say goodnight, and we will be here tomorrow night covering the big rains as they materialize. So we will see you tomorrow, everybody, at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time.
Stay dry.
All right. Night, everybody.